Hi, this is Dan Maher. I wanted to go through the platform a little bit um, on what we use specific to this course. This MyMathLab is um, it's a very powerful tool. It's got a lot of resources attached to that. So I'm just going to focus into the parts that I use. One is again I'll do all the announcements through this platform, and they're on your home page up here. Also, again, that's a great reason when I do announcements if there's some kind of change to schedule, or um, probably the things that'll vary a little bit is I'll offer some online live sessions that we can go through questions, or so we can have some time like that where you can hook into the computer. But if I do any announcements there on this, it'll email to your email address that you use on MyMathLab. So I think I talked about that in the syllabus, but to that, you want to make sure you use an email address on here that you check very often to make sure you don't miss anything. And usually that's the one that's on your phone if you'd use that. Is Seems to be the most successful with students. So that's announcements will be there, and there'll be a history of announcements. So if you do miss an email, or you lost the email or something like that, you can come back and see the announcements as they're made. This calendar portion here is very useful too. And like on June 24th, the intro assignment is due. I can actually launch that right here if I'd like to, and so on. And then the next day, the chapter 1 review is due. That's a longer assignment. And then on Thursday, the chapter 2 review is due. All these assignments are accessible. The homework is this blue. Round circle is the blue. Homework can be done anytime. It's all available. So if you want to get going, and if you want to work ahead, you can access even chapter 3 review. And also, if you get behind, let's say if I didn't get the chapter 2 review done on Thursday, you can actually work on that homework after due date and still get credit. The other parts here then on the calendar on July 3rd, there's quizzes that were opened up too, and they're a different grading weight in the program, like I talked about in the syllabus, but they are due on Wednesday, July 3rd, and after they're past their due date, you can't work on those. And then the proctored chapter 1 through 3 test, which is the review of Math 93, is going to happen on Wednesday the 3rd. That's the assigned date on your schedule. And, so you probably want to start making arrangements for that day to be available in either in Wenatchee or Omak or other places. If you're out on the outskirts, remember that the North Central Washington library system does proctoring. Not all the libraries, so you'd have to arrange for that to do that. And there'll be an RSVP form that I send out that'll let me know where you're planning to take the test and at what time. So these show up here, but you'll notice if I go through the assignments portion, if I launch it here, or what, I can view all assignments here. When I click on that, you'll notice down here that the chapter 1 through 3 test isn't listed here. And the reason that isn't there now is that it's not available. So you won't see everything coming up in your schedule on the assignments. And I need to make a change on that. That shouldn't be available yet. So I can go through this way, and and see my homework or things that are available now. That's it. Whereas on in the course home on the calendar, I can see things come up. This is back in June, sorry. Right here. And so like on the 3rd, you didn't see that chapter 1 through 3 test, but on the calendar I do. So if you lose your syllabus or don't have access at the time and you're wondering where we're at, you can scroll through this calendar and it'll show you when, like this one here, this is when chapter 4 quiz will become available, about halfway through chapter 4. And you can do those up to 3 attempts. And then on the July 18th, the review quiz is due, or all 3 attempts are due. And then the proctored test comes up. And that really is most of what we're going to use, but you can also check your grades. This is your grade book, so I can see how I'm doing for all assignments and or just homework and so on. Also, this show calculation is a good thing to look at. It really illustrates how the weighting of the class goes. It'd be like for all the homework we do, there's 10 points you can get towards your 100 points for the quarter. So if you got a 90% on all your homework, that was the average, you'd have 9 points towards your 100 points available for the quarter grade. Quizzes, you have 30% or 30 points, and so on. So you can look at where you're at with this. It'll tell you some things. Also, I use this time spent. Everybody's got some time management issues, so you can look at that. If you're spending a huge amount of time at the homework and still not doing well on your quizzes and tests and so on, you should look at that and say, how can I do this more effectively? But the way I weight this class too is that these proctored tests we're going to have a chapter 1 through 3 test and a chapter 4 test, chapter 5 test, and a chapter 6 test. And then the final test is like a take-home test, or basically it'll open up without a password so you don't have to be proctored. And you'll have, you can go in and out of that test to do it, just like, I handed you a take-home test. You could work on it, for an hour and then take a break and come back and work some more and so on. So these are pretty key places to go. I don't use a lot of the things that are in this platform. And if you do your homework in a way that, if you always remember that, hey, I need to practice this stuff in a way that I'm going to perform well for the test. And the assignments, when we get to especially into when we get into the actual Math 98, like here's section 2 from chapter 4. When you open up that homework, there's attached media that will give you the lectures. Some of it's interactive so you can work with it, and it'll really focus in on what properties and rules and the actual language of algebra that you need to understand before you start the questions. And then also when you start the questions, there's resources there. It is very doable to get 100% on all your homework, because if you get the wrong answer, it'll say, no, that's not correct. Would you like another one? And you can attempt. But here is some things. Here's assigned media that's attached to this group right here, which I was showing you. And you can do question help, which is help me solve this. And if you do this portion, it steps through, you know, step by step what you need to do, which probably wouldn't have much to do with this exponent thing, because there's not a lot of steps to it. But when we get into chapter 6, you know, there could be, you know, 5 to 10 different steps you need to get through to get the correct answer. You can also view an example. Here's a video that you can watch. It takes you to the textbook, the online textbook, right in the pertinent place that's involved with section 2. And you can print it. This skill builder is another one, interactive, based on this question. And then also you have this ask my instructor, and it'll pop up this little window, and it'll send me the question, the actual question you're working on. It'll email me. That's my email address. And you can write a little comment here or question, say, you know, I don't understand why I have to use positive exponent or something like that in that deal. So you can interact with me. But the key thing that saves a lot of time is that it actually sends me exactly this problem. I can see that you're trying to get 6 to the negative 2 power, and how they're asking for answers and so on. And then I can send something back to you. Hopefully that will help. So that's just a quick deal of that. The intro assignment talks about how to enter your answers and those kinds of things. You know, it is a computer. It's pretty particular to entering the right deals. Get used to these little extra instructions here, like it says use integers or fractions for any numbers in this expression. In other words, if you put a decimal in this, it'll be wrong even if it's equivalent to the fraction and so on. So make sure you read how they want their answers, and you'll get used to the platform. There are some shortcut keys too, that like to do an exponent and so on, rather than going to always having to go to this palette down here for that. Like if I wanted to do, I'm talking so much I didn't read the question. It says, select the correct choice and fill in the answer here to complete the choice. Use integers or fractions. Express the following expression with positive exponents. I got a negative exponent. So this is going to be 1, you know, and I got a fraction. I could have, if I click that, now I got that, and I'm going like, no, I didn't want that. So I need to think about how the answer is going to be, which is this one's going to be like 1 over 6 to the 2 power. I can do some shortcut keys like 1 and then the / basically tells it that this is part of a fraction, and then I can go 6. And if you go shift 6 key, that's a caret or up caret. That means exponent, and do it that way. Look for those shortcuts. It makes a lot faster manner and hopefully more accurate. But you can use this palette too. And then like this one, I can check the answer, and it's saying I did something wrong. To express positive exponents, use the definition of negative exponents. Note that the non-zero of a to the negative n is equal to 1 over a to the n, and so on. So what I'm suspecting is that they want, well, it said use an integer or fraction. They didn't want that exponent. So I can say okay, it gives me some hints, and then I can replace this 6 to the 2 power to 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36 and enter it that way and see if that does it for me. And so you can see how you can interact with that. And you know what I did was I didn't pick the right B or A. This should be here, and this can be simplified too. So here I should have 1/6 to the 2 power. Actually, I hit the wrong deal. Which then could be simplified to 1/36. Let's see if I got it right that way. And hopefully you don't ever have to take that much time on a simple problem like that. So, but you'll get used to how to interact with that. And again, the homework, you know, it's kind of like basketball. If you were playing basketball, you need to practice doing things correctly. So under pressure, like a game, you do it right. And I see a lot of students, you'll get just these little bits of help that will get you through getting to the right answer, kind of like what I did here. And then you kind of forget that you're getting prompted a little bit, but that prompt may be kind of the same prompt all the way through a homework assignment. But if you get into a test, that's going to mean you get it wrong. And that's how you use the quizzes too. You have multiple attempts at the quizzes. So when I take my quiz for the first time, you know, got all my homework done, I'll take my quiz and I'll take it like I'm taking a test and take all those help prompts out of there. Or, you know, don't use the book, just use scratch paper and the calculator and see how you do. And then hopefully you'll see a pattern when you look at the ones that you got incorrect, that you can see, oh, I'm missing this piece of information. A lot of times it's just one or two simple things, and which can, you know, really affect your grade if you don't fix that before you take the test. So anyhow, this is some stuff on how I use the platform with this class. So good luck, and we'll talk either at a test or some online session.